Hey everybody, welcome into the show. It is Friday, May 1st, and I'm Aaron Montgomery from Super Gamut and our Success Group. And this week we are going to share with you a couple of the interviews and details from the recent Kornit Konnections event that was held out in Hollywood, Florida. It was a really cool event. Kornit flew me out as part of the media world, and it was really awesome to connect with so many really high-end people. I think the really fun part is there are going to probably be some other great episodes coming up from people I got to connect with who are going to come and join our show directly. But today I really want to kind of give you some perspective, some things that you as the regulators can take away from this event, and really excited to also then share those interviews with you. Now, I do want to encourage you to stay till the very end of the show. I will be bringing the secret sauce today. 15 minutes to reclaim your business and your life. So make sure that you stick around. If you're not already aware, this is a recorded episode. It was the only real way to bring these interviews to you. And so we will all be kind of in the comments with you and try to kind of keep up. But if you have any questions or need anything, please reach out to us, info@tworegularguys.com. Now, we do have the news segment for you. Cassie Green from The Apparelist is going to jump in here, and she has recorded the news for us. So let's hear what's happening out there in the world today. Thank you to Cassie.
Hello, regulators. I hope you're as fired up for today's Two Regular Guys as I am. Before Aaron and Terry get into it, some headlines for you. First, Fuel partners with TrustTrace to strengthen supply chain traceability and compliance. TrustTrace, a global platform in supply chain traceability and compliance, announces a strategic partnership with Fuel, the on-demand merchandise platform representing Printify, Printful, and Snow Commerce, to build supply chain visibility and compliance infrastructure across its global manufacturing network. As regulatory requirements around supply chain transparency tighten, Fuel has selected TrustTrace to centralize compliance documentation, map its supplier network, and collect the data needed to meet emerging EU regulations. Next headline, Sanmar turns purpose into action as Beat the Bridge presenting sponsor. For the second year, Sanmar will serve as the presenting sponsor for the Beat the Bridge event, a fundraiser for Breakthrough T1D, a global organization funding type 1 diabetes research. The event is set to take place May 9th, 2026 in Seattle, where the course travels over Seattle's University Bridge, which is actually raised during the race. The company is slated for a 5-year commitment as the presenting sponsor. In an exclusive interview with Apparelist, Jeremy Lott, CEO of Sanmar, mentions that he has a personal connection to Breakthrough T1D. While the event has been happening for over 40 years, Sanmar's recent involvement as the presenting sponsor is a result of what he calls perfect timing. You can read more of Jeremy's exclusive interview with Apparelist in the news link. My final headline for you all today, FlyOverCon full of engagement and learning. FlyOverCon, which took place April 17th through 18th, 2026 at P&M Apparel, saw 2 full days of engagement from attendees. The event launched in 2024 and focuses on practical, real-world education delivered by professionals actively running shops. It emphasizes collaboration, implementable takeaways, and open conversation over sales-driven presentations. The event drew representatives from 16 different states and sold out at 75 registrations. Currently, there are plans to hold the event next year, though the location and dates have yet to be announced. It's everything I've got for y'all this week. I hope you have a great Friday and weekend.
All right, Cassie, we appreciate those details. I appreciate you bringing us the information. Make sure that you guys are subscribed to the Apparelist newsletter and make sure that you're following all their social media stuff. They do an incredible job of just bringing you really good information about the industry. So we appreciate Cassie and everybody from the Apparelist and beyond there at Printing United as well. We would be totally remiss if we did not bring you a dad joke. And so here we go. I'm going to do the dad joke. I won't be sure how it lands other than in the comments. So make sure that you guys are commenting and letting me know what you think of this dad joke. So my wife said to me that quilts are better than duvets. And I said, boy, you had better be careful making blanket statements like that. All right, a true dad joke, I truly believe. But there we go. Hopefully that landed for you guys. Let me know your thoughts on that. Now, before we dive into the content here in just a moment, I do want to thank you guys for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are working on some new intros as we speak. So I really need your voices. We would love to have the regulators participate in our show intros. So if you can head over to osg.link/intro and read a few sentences, and you will be part of every show. Do not be left out. It's really easy. You just go over to that link. I'll give you some instructions in a video to get you started, and then just record a little bit, and we'll take bits and pieces of that and put you into our next intro. So the other thing that we are looking for, if you are going to do a podcast for 14 years and 640, almost 650 episodes long, we are constantly looking for new guests. And so we need your guys' help. If you or anyone you know would like to join us and be part of the Two Regular Guys here, you can head to Calendly, calendly.com/2, the number 2 regular guys, and you can just book a future episode there. Or if you want to give us some suggestions of people we need to be reaching out to, head over to info@tworegularguys.com, and you can share any show ideas, any people we need to connect with. We would really appreciate that. Again, info@2, the number 2 regularguys.com. All right, well, let's dive into this show. Again, this is all coming from an event that happened out in Hollywood, Florida, called the Kornit Konnections, and that's K Connections. So first and foremost, I just want to thank Kornit and for the invitation and for all of the hospitality. It was a gorgeous place, and we were very well taken care of. I ate really good. I'm still dealing with that here. Hollywood, Florida is a beautiful location. So first and foremost, thanks to Kornit. Appreciate them bringing me out there. And I appreciate Terry and Eric letting me be the representative of Two Regular Guys. It was a nice little getaway there for a couple of days. So the things that stood out to me here, you guys, is I was really impressed by all of the collaboration. The collaboration, I think, is so much more important in our industry than we realize. I think it can become a very competitive kind of industry, and I got to keep everything close to the vest. And what I noticed here is that there was such a wide range of people, and they were all having conversations, no matter if they were direct competitors or not. So obviously, being here at the Kornit event, I was wearing my Two Regular Guys hat, but I also got to talk to several of the Super Gamut customers as well. And they're all solutions provider, right? They're not doing DTF, they're not doing DTG, they're not doing screen printing. They were talking about solutions. And so I thought that was really cool that people are starting to let that guard down and just really start talking to each other about solutions, not about competition, not about this versus this, and getting away from this kind of dualistic mindset. And so part of that, I want to give a huge shout out to Justin and Jay from Rip Print. And we are working hard to get them on the show soon. I think that conversation is going to be really cool. They've built an awesome business, and they both come from that hospitality industry, both hospitality like bars and restaurants, but also hospitality like hotels and things like that. And it seems like what they've really built their business on is that same hospitality service mindset. And it seems to have worked really well for them. So excited to talk to them on a future episode. So Justin and Jay, thank you guys for taking some time to chat with me. As the show got started, as the event got started, one of the first things they had was a keynote speaker. And they brought in Draymond John, who's you might know from Shark Tank, but he was the original founder of a fashion brand called FUBU. And it was really interesting to hear his take on the market, the space, and kind of his whole story was saying yes and then figuring it out. And I think the entire theme of the event was really about agility. And so it was really cool to kind of hear from him, get some of his takes as someone that's not necessarily directly in the weeds each and every day like we are, but he's still very much related to our industry. And so listening to him talk, share his story, and then answer some questions and give us some ideas. In fact, he gave us a really, really awesome idea, but I'm going to save that because I did bring this idea into my Facebook group. In fact, you can find it at osg.link/group. So I'm not going to keep the secret forever, but I'm going to ask you to go inside of the group there. I thought this was a cool idea. He really thought that this was the wave of the future when it comes to selling. And so if you head into the group there again, osg.link/group, you'll see what it is and we can start the conversation. I think the kind of the big overview for me is you heard a couple weeks ago from World Imaging News from Win. They mentioned that Kornit Digital had just acquired Print Factory, which is a workflow and automation RIP software platform. And I think the interesting part was that was kind of a theme, right? How do we automate? How do we improve our workflow? How do we get more agile as an industry? And I saw this take on Facebook from a company called Merch Troop out of California that I felt like was really spot on. Now, I did not see Merch Troop there. Now, I didn't look for them specifically. I didn't see this until after I got back. And so maybe they were there, maybe they weren't. But I thought this take was really spot on. And they had mentioned, hey, this news about Kornit buying Print Factory is probably not big enough news. And they said this, said the industry is quietly shifting from a who has the biggest press business to who has the tightest systems in business. So the post went on to say 10 years ago, capacity was the advantage. Today, it's workflow. How fast a shop can quote, proof, schedule, print, and ship. And I was like, man, what a great summary of what this event was really all about, right? Like was about workflow. It was about utilizing AI. It was about how we can better service the customers. And it wasn't about the things, right? It wasn't about, oh, this machine, right? Like Kornit had some really cool machines there, some really cool stuff that they were doing. And to be honest with you, that wasn't really what the conversation was about, even from the folks at Kornit. And so I was really proud of them for understanding what people were really challenged with. Again, this whole idea of agility seems to keep popping up everywhere I turn. Faster turnaround times, smaller minimums, more real-time visibility into orders, right? And so there's another thing, like, what are you guys doing for real-time visibility into your orders? Merch Troop, the company that I mentioned, I was reading their Facebook post. They also said in that same post, it means the competition isn't the embroiderer across town. It's any decorator who has built a real operating system behind the scenes, right? And so interesting. We used to worry about the new guy coming in and messing up pricing, or the Cricut mom that just giving stuff away and ruining the market with bad product, right? Like, and I'm not saying every Cricut mom ruins the market with bad product. I'm just saying those are some of the complaints that I've heard over the years. But honestly, that's not what we need to be worrying about. That's not what we need to be looking at inside of our own business, according to what I took away from this and according to what Merch Troop was saying in their Facebook post, which I really thought was spot on and well done. As I kind of continue to go through this event, kind of playing it back in my head and from my notes here, one of the main slides in the opening talk, and this was from the CEO of Kornit, the gentleman from Israel, and I am blanking on his name right now, and I did not put it in my notes, so I'm going to get in trouble here, but that's okay. He said this. He said, agility is not a nice to have, it's a must have. The slide that he was talking about this after really stuck out to me with some real world applications for our listeners. And this slide, and he was really talking about fashion brand. The slide noted that first, discovery has moved to social media. And so the slide noted that 38% of people discover fashion brands through social platforms. That means customers are not waiting to search for brands anymore. Brands are finding them in Instagram feeds, in TikTok videos, in Facebook posts, in YouTube content. For decorators, this is my take here. I think this means that your customers need branded content, right? Not just branded products. So how can you help through your products and services? How can you help them create more branded content? The thing that you're offering is just part of it. We need to be telling better stories, telling more stories. And so how do we help our customers with that? I thought that was what really stuck out to me, is like, how can I help my customers tell better stories around what they're doing and why they chose us to begin with? And so the second part of the slide was that engagement is happening daily. And the stat said around 50% of US consumers use social media every day. I thought that was interesting. Only 50%. I think that number is probably higher, but that was the stat that they had. And so that really means that brands now have an ongoing relationship opportunity, right? Like social media used to just be about awareness, but I do think that social media has built itself to a point where it's now a relationship opportunity. So it's no longer just about one marketing campaign or one catalog drop or something along those lines. It's about the fact that people are interacting constantly. And so are they interacting with your brand in a meaningful way? So for example, for businesses, do you have a Facebook group, right? Are you interacting as a person? Or are you still trying to hide your face, right? Like they want to connect with you and they want to have that ongoing relationship with you. And so shops that help customers stay visible become more valuable to their partners. And then the third point on this slide, and you'll see it as I'm talking through this here, is conversion follows online. So the slide says successful fashion brands get 30 to 50% of their online sales share through these social media conversion type efforts. So it basically means attention can quickly translate into revenue, right? So if you've got a relationship, you've got their attention, that can very quickly translate into revenue when the systems make it easy, right? Are we making it difficult for our customers to buy? So someone sees the content, they get interested, they go, oh, that's interesting, I like that. And then can they easily click a link and then just buy right away without a lot of hassle, right? If you think about this, this is what Amazon did to take over. They said, I don't care about all of the website norms, what a good website's supposed to look like. We're going to be just super hardcore about making it super easy for people to say, buy now. Right. And so that's how Amazon started. So think about that for your business. Someone sees your content, they get interested, they click a link and they buy right away. Is that possible? Can you do that inside of your business? You have to let go of this idea that you're selling a t-shirt. You are helping customers fuel a marketing engine, for example. You're helping your customers tell a story through a tactile product. So think about things like fast turn times, small runs, personalization, e-commerce integration, and trend responsive production. I think this is why digital production has had such a huge growth, right? When DTF came onto the scene, and boy, now everybody could do these small runs, trend responsive production. The strongest companies in our space, right? Like we always joke on here, Terry has this saying, do good work, deliver on time, right? That's the minimum standard. And that's still true. But I think if you're anywhere close to that minimum standard, boy, you are going to be left behind, right? We need to be well beyond that, where our role is really to help our customers generate demand as well. At the event, I thought this was pretty cool. In fact, we may see this at a upcoming DAX show, maybe even Chicago. We'll see. But wink, wink, if you are listening, Maddie, TJ, and Nick. I mentioned it to you in Dayton. But anyways, sorry, I got off track there. Shiny object. Kornit had this really big poster board where attendees wrote the things that kept them up at night. And I think there's a gold mine of information in this that the regulators can take away from this. So you'll see it on screen there. I know it's a little bit hard to read. Let me give you some takeaways from what you're seeing here. First and foremost, you're not alone. And there was definitely clear patterns here. And I think sometimes we think our worries are unique. They're not. Everybody in our space is dealing with these kinds of things. So across the industry, there are similar pressure points. And I think sometimes just knowing that can actually reduce our stress and realize that we're not in this alone. All I got to do is reach out. I come out of my cave. I stop kind of, now I go to collaboration instead of competition. And I think that gives you a much better perspective. So that's the first takeaway. Second takeaway is to focus on what you can control, right? We can't control tariffs, politics, economy, But you can control your customer experience. You can control your internal systems. You can control training yourself and your employees. You can control your pricing and not undervaluing yourself. You can control the communication you have with your customers. Stop waiting for them to reach out to you. Be proactive. You can control the speed of your response. That's the second takeaway. Focus on what you can control. The third takeaway was that uncertainty actually creates opportunity. And I think, there's some feeling that markets are a little bit shaky with everything going on out in the world. But when that's true, customers really start looking for trusted partners, right? They stop, taking money somewhere where like overseas where it's cheaper. Now they're willing to pay more for that trusted partnership. And so I think shops that become really reliable, really proactive, and really easy to work with actually grow during uncertain times. So is that you, right? Are you making sure that you do what you say you're going to do? Are you very proactive in reaching out and communicating as much as possible? Are you easy to work with? Stop making your problems your customers' problems. With that, you'll be able to grow during these uncertain times. The fourth takeaway here, and I've got 5 total, so 2 more to go here. The fourth takeaway is that AI is not the enemy. I think ignorance is really the enemy, especially when it comes to AI. And so on this board, several people mentioned AI. And I think the smart move here is not fear or this blind hype that AI is going to save the world or save my business or whatever. Or, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid of AI. And the important step that we can take is just really start learning practical uses of it right now. Try it out, test it. Don't make it the end all be all. Don't let it replace something, but see how it can help you. Can it help you with quoting, right? It's really good at managing and getting its arms around big sets of data. It can really help with customer service drafts. And let me be very clear about that, customer service drafts. Same thing goes with our artwork. It's a great place to start for artwork ideation, right? It's getting better and better every day. And people like Dane Clement of daneclement.com, or you can find him over in Stalls. And we're going to see him back on here soon in doing some secret sauces for us. But he's really embraced the idea of AI, right? And he's a freaking fantastic artist that could do it all himself. But he's saying, hey, this can save me a lot of the front end of what I've always done. And that way I can generate better stuff. But I still have to clean it up. I still have to know the tools and do all that stuff. It can help you look at your workflow. It can help you look at your marketing content, right? So it's not the enemy, but it's also not this blind hype. And my final takeaway before we get into the interviews here is relevance is the real battle. So one attendee had wrote relevance and I think that really stood out to me as maybe the most important word on the board. Right? If you stay useful to your customers, if you keep solving their problems and keep being interested in their problems, right? Sometimes we get so good at what we're doing that we kind of stay in this lane and we forget to keep our ears to the ground and keep having the conversations with our customers because their problems may shift depending on what's going on out in the world. And so if we're not keeping up to speed with our top 20%, because the Pareto principle tells us that 80% of our revenue is going to come from 20% of our customers. And so are you keeping up with them? Are you solving their current problem or are you still solving a problem from years ago? Right. And so being relevant means to adapt to what matters right now. And I think if you can do that, you will stay in the game and you will have a very healthy business, even through trying times. So on this board, what struck me most is nobody wrote things like embroidery tension or DTF, DTG head clogs, or how do I make a screen or pre-treatment settings, right? Like I would thought that we would have at least had one DTG printer issue, but that wasn't the case, right? That was not what was keeping them up at night. They wrote about things like the economy, labor, sales, relevance, uncertainty. And so I think what that tells me is that the next level of success in this industry is less about the machines and more about leadership. But if you look to some of the other educations at shows beyond this Kornit Konnections, right? So the DAX shows, the Impression shows, the Printing United shows, right? The how-to, the how do I use this machine? Those classes always fill up. And yet the leadership and the mindset classes, I had 3 people in a class and it was an awesome hour and a half together, and those people said it was the best class they'd taken the entire weekend, all of the rest of the people missed out on that, right? And so they're going to go back to their businesses and they're going to be looking at leadership, where everybody else is just going to be playing with their machines and wondering why they've got no business. I know I'm up on my pedestal a little bit here, but I do truly think that's why so many shops struggle. And if you look at the people that were in this room, they're all multi-million-dollar companies. Not once were they there to talk about the equipment, right? Even though the equipment people brought them into the room. And so I think the businesses that sleep best or will be sleeping best in the next few years, they're not going to be the ones that don't have any problems. They will be the ones with the best habits for handling them. There's my takeaway, you guys. Let's jump into these interviews and then we'll come back and wrap up the show. All right, regulators, I'm here with Sean Skirapad with Printees and co-founder there. So, Sean, we are here at Kornit Konnections 2026 in Hollywood, Florida. I am excited to talk to you. I got to see you on a panel discussion yesterday. Tons of great information there. So maybe start us off with just kind of giving us a little history of your company, where you're at now, kind of the 101 of Sean and Printees, please.
For sure. So Printees started 10 years ago. We were focused mainly on large retail brands, especially retail distribution. So we were doing screen printing, a lot of water-based things. So that's how we got into the niche of it. We became really good at doing water-based things such as HSA, discharge, things like that. So that was the nature of our business, and we were really focused and tailored to that. But we saw the volume of orders dropping. So I wanted to shift and have more of a stable yearly business. So I was like, okay, we'll keep the screen printing side of the business still going. It's still there. It was active. But I want to have something else that's more stable. So obviously I saw opportunity with online, and I felt like that was the next biggest thing. Customing at the time was massive, and he was leading the industry. So I felt like we needed to dive into that. And right away when I started building a website, I think at that time it was Inksoft that we were using for the online store and like customization and tools and things like that. And I realized right away that it was not going to be possible with screen printing. There's so many barriers for your customers to go, and how are they going to trust you? Are they going to trust you if you have minimums? Like our minimum run at the time was 144 units, which is extremely high for screen printers, but that's the type of niche of customers that we wanted to go after. So we had to pivot. We bought our first, at that time it was an Epson F2000, if I'm not mistaken. The DTG machine that we got was like a standalone pre-treater. And then we removed all of our minimums, and we're like, yeah, let's go to that and offer this online. And then quickly realized the pain points of that, the labor that was involved, the problems that you had with dye migration, certain shirts that you could and couldn't do. So then we got into heat transfer vinyl, printed heat transfer vinyl, trying to do everything just to go and be able to cater to that corporate B2B market, B2C customer that is just wanting to order shirts for their small business, which was completely different than what we're normally used to, right? But I fell in love with that division and that opportunity of being online and waking up in the morning and having sales while you were sleeping, right? So that was really exciting to me, and I felt like I wanted to double down on that. So we grew that business. We kept investing into it, putting more processes, buying more DTG. We went from the Epson to the Brothers. We had 5 Brother GTX Pro Bulks with the GTX 600. We have 7 DTF Mimakis at that point. We still had 2 automatic screen printing presses, 14 heads of embroidery. So we were doing pretty much the whole thing, but the production was getting overwhelming. So we started to develop our own software. And that's when things really scaled for us and gave us opportunity. But then it was really like, okay, how can we manage this with labor and scaling the business to a point where it was feasible to do fast turnaround times? And that's when we went to see Kornits, and then we were at Konnections last year, which was a great event. We were able to talk to a bunch of other partners that own these machines, peers of the industry that has been doing this for so long, and we did the jump. So we got our 2 first Kornit Atlas Max polys, and I wish we would have done it sooner, but I guess we weren't ready for that at that time, right? So everything happens for a reason, and it was fine. So we did the jump, and I think we were 3 weeks in, we ordered 2 more. So now we're at 4 Kornit polys in Canada. We're opening a facility in Florida now with 2 Atlas Max Matrix, the new upgrade that's going to be installed in June. So I think that's super exciting. So now we're a full-on custom apparel shop that you can go online. Since we built our own proprietary software, people can just order like custom inks, a t-shirt, or in their account, they can connect their store and do print on demand. So yeah, we're a one-stop shop for bulk manufacturing, on demand, fulfillment. We also do 3PL. So it's a one-stop shop. We do custom apparel, and how you want to get served is you choose depending on the way you use the app. So yeah. That's the background, the long, short story of what it is. Love it. So, yeah.
Sean, this is awesome. And you said this is 10 years ago is when you started, right? So when you think about 10 years, that's a lot of growth, sounds like, which is great. So talk to us a little bit about how you manage that growth, how you, again, you're making these jumps from different types of equipment, trying to, probably listening to your customers, things like that. So maybe talk to us a little bit about how you manage the growth. What were the indicators to you that it was time to upgrade, move to different systems?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, but it's a hard one to answer, because I think at a certain point you get the gut feeling, the gut instinct, right, as an entrepreneur. And for me, it was really seeing long-term vision, long-term goal of not wanting to get a paycheck today, but always pushing it back and seeing the opportunity of what we could do. So I think the hardest division or timeline for a new business is anywhere between $0 to $3 million of sales a year, because you're really in I call it the graveyard, or like the swamp. It's hard because you don't have enough capital, you don't have enough sales to be able to really hire somebody that's going to help you run the operation, so you can focus on growth, you can focus on those hard decisions. So you're making so many small decisions in a day that it's hard to have those concrete, longer thought process of decision of where you're going to go in 6 months, where you're going to go in a year. So that's where you really have to double down and work 2 shifts to make sure that you're making it happen, basically, because you don't have the capital to pay that person, right? So when you go over that hump of like $3 million of sales and you go to 4 or 5, I think that's where you really see the growth happen, because you're able to take a step back, not have your hands in ink or have your hands in production, and really have good decisions, being able to take good decisions to help you scale. And you really see the growth happen at that point, right? So now we're taking decisions which is a year, 2 years, 3 years ahead, which is, I think, is a massive advantage for us now, being able to take those decisions, because they're a lot more thought out, right? They're a lot more planned. It's not as impulsive or as reactive, because you're always, when you're a business owner that's doing the operations as well as running them in the back, you're very reactive, right? You're on the floor, you're doing it, and then you have gut instinct feelings of what it is on the moment right now, and not really looking it back, taking a step back. So I think now it's a lot easier. And when I was younger, I made a lot of mistakes because I was on the field, right? So even with hiring too many people, because I was tired and I was working a lot, so I felt like, oh, we need so many more people. Now you start hiring a lot of people, then your overheads get really high, and then you have to learn that it's hard to fire people when you're young, because they become your friends and you hire your friends. So me doing that with some of the mistakes, that's costs a lot of money. Labor comes in every single week and you have to do a paycheck, right? So I had to learn that the hard way, but that was me being on the floor and being tired from working 17, 18 hours a day, feeling like I needed help. So oftentimes entrepreneur, we say like, oh, I deserve this. The reality is you have to look at the balance sheet to see if you really deserve it, right? So it was a big learning curve, but now I feel like we're at a great spot. We're growing a lot. Financially, we're a lot more stable, so it helps. But we're always reinvesting in the business, right? So even after 10 years, opening in the U.S. facility, we've done everything without private equity. So it's my brother and I, and we're just there to reinvest. And obviously, we want to have a great life and great opportunity that our employees can have a great job as well. So. Those were the hardest challenges, but I think it's everybody's challenge when you start a business. Sure.
So the other thing that stood out as you were sharing both your story and what you just shared with there is I didn't hear you talk about the thing, the shirt, right? And you're talking about like software and other things and making decisions and using your gut instinct and things like that. And I think that's something that a lot of times in the apparel world we miss. We get so excited about the thing, the shirt, and we realize that once you get to this next level, like you said, it's actually not about that. It's about, you talked about your customers and your employees and things like that. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, how do you manage hey, we want to make a great shirt here versus what do our customers actually need and what is it that we're selling?
100%. I think for us, we're always leading with innovation of thinking about our customers at the end, right? So whether it's the better experience customer service wise or better experience on the customer journey of the product that we're creating, right? So enabling us to come here and see the new quality, see the new technology that's evolving allows us to say yes to more customers. So that's why we're always on board with Kornit, and we want to invest in the matrix. We want to invest in new equipment is because we always want to be on the cutting edge of what's coming next for that customer. So the quality, I think, when I see quality and people say, "Oh, I have the best quality in the market" or things like that, to me, it sounds kind of phony because everybody should have good quality, right? That's my opinion. If you're in business, you should do a great job. So we never go on quality. We really pride ourselves in the customer service and how we can be there if something does go wrong. Right. So that's what we pride ourselves on because we feel like every printer should do a great print. Everybody should do a great service. So that's what we believe. But that's driving our business for every decision, whether it's buying new equipment. Do we really need that equipment? Maybe not. According to the machines that we have right now, don't really need the upgrade. But if you look at the quality of what we're going to be able to produce and how our customers are going to be able to sell that, make more money on those, for us, that justifies it. Right. And after, if you look long run, obviously that's going to come back because a happy customer comes back and he talks about you. So that's the best referral you can get. Cost of acquisition of a customer that's coming from your friend or a new customer is always cheaper than paying for it. So that's what we believe.
Love that. My co-host a lot of times will say the minimum standard to be in business is do good work, deliver on time, right? Like that should be, and then go from there, right? So Terry, shout out there. But so the other thing you've talked about is we've had this discussion here is, you've started with screen print, water-based, just evolving. I was blown away when you said you were doing printed vinyl to try to keep up with large orders. You must like weeding or something. I don't know. And then, DTF and all that. So talk to us about kind of the digital world in general. Obviously you went from analog into like full on digital here. So how have you seen that evolution over the 10 years and what are some of the bumps that, you overcame along the way?
Yeah, great question. I think analog was great for so many years and was the standard in the industry. And then you saw the rise of DTG, the first iteration of DTG come into the market, and a lot of people jumped on it because, first of all, it was low entry to market barrier, just like DTF when it came in, and the quality wasn't there, but it was better than what people expected at that time, right? So people kept investing and believing it and reinventing the technology and making it better and better and better. And then DTF came. And DTF came and opened the doors, the floodgate even more because of the entry to market, which is even lower. And it was a lot easier to apply to products and things like that. So I think it made a great shift in the industry, allowing a lot of screen printers and shops to become profitable. And when I say that is because when you're going analog, there's a lot of labor that goes into everything you do. Mixing your inks, cleaning your screens, building your screens, maintaining your screens, tearing down a press, setting up a press, damages of products because, there's dye migration on this. The print is not in the right spot. There's a lot of complexity that goes into screen printing. So those low barrier to entry market of DTF and DTG allowed so many screen printers and decorators to now say yes to smaller runs and still be profitable. So I think that was great. It was needed in the industry, but we're still missing the digital side of the e-commerce, which is print on demand, the technology that's evolving. And then you see Kornit pushing that industry forward, and they're really the only one to be able to do it at scale. So I think that's where digital really competes with analog or competes with the retail market to be able to offer them the online, the digital solution, right? And I felt like that's when we needed to do that shift to be able to be competitive. So that's, to me, the biggest shift in the industry is allowing digital to make smaller shop profitable. But then the scale of on-demand, the true scale of on-demand came when Kornit just kept evolving and pushing that barrier because that's their goal. They want to evolve the industry to on demand, right? Being more e-conscious, locally produced, locally shipped. And you need to have great quality to be able to do that. Yeah. Nike, Under Armour, they're not going to say yes for it to produce for them if it doesn't last their standard tests. So those are the only machines that are able to do that. But it opens up the door to so many opportunities that you weren't able to do before with digital. And I mean, the quality now, you look at it, I mean, if you just saw the matrix on the floor, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Realistically, printing on a dye sublimated shirt and not having any dye migration, and the quality of what it is, 100 times better, in my opinion, than silicone heat transfer or just DTF. Yeah. But again, everything is personal preference. We do everything. Yeah. We do DTF, screen, embroidery, DTG. Sure. I really enjoy DTG because I can manipulate it the way I want it. Yeah. And again, when I say DTG, it's with our Kornit machines. Yeah. We ran plenty of other DTGs, but yeah, the digital solution for us gave us the opportunity to say yes to more jobs.
All right, I want to shift gears slightly here. We don't get a ton of opportunities to talk to our friends from Canada. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of market. Obviously, you grew this business in Canada, so that's really cool. I want to understand a little bit more about that. And then now that you're building a location in Florida, so talk to us about that. What's the market like in Canada? And then, what drove you to say, hey, let's get into the U.S. market as well?
100%. Yeah, I think Canada is really hard to do business in. And the reason why is because, first of all, the country's huge, right? It's massive, but there's 38 million people in Canada. If you look at California, last time I checked, there was 39 million people just in California. So you look at a state of California that has more people than the whole country of Canada. And when you're competing with that, it's hard to have competitive pricing because when you're shipping across the country. The volume is much lower than whatever you see in the U.S. So you have to be really good with business, really good with numbers, and understand the industry. And I think it was a massive advantage for us to start there. Yeah. Obviously, was it slower, the growth in Canada, us starting there, than if we were in the U.S.? 100%. But I think now it's a massive advantage because all the big shops that are in the U.S. are not looking to say, oh, you know what, I'm going to go open in Canada. The market there it doesn't seem like it's worth it. But there is a massive market, right? Print on demand, soft goods, the second largest area other than the U.S. is Canada. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy to think about it. Yeah. But there's a lot of influencers. There's a lot of people that go there. And let's be honest, there's not much to do during winter other than shop. Yeah. I mean, you go to work and you shop online. Yeah. I mean, realistically, that's what you do. You play hockey, you shop online, and you work. So, no, I'm playing here, but it's reality is that's the market. That's what it is, right? So there's a lot more seasonality in the way things go, and then there's multi-languages, right? So you go to Quebec, where we're from, and that needs to be in French, and it's very regulated, and your website needs to be in French, and then you have everywhere else where it's in US, so your site needs to be multi-language, and your business needs to be in French if you're in Quebec. So there's a lot of rules, and it's hard to do business, but for us it was essential to really set up our roots there and have a really strong foundation, and then be able to go cross border and then scale at the size that we want to do. So I think we really believe that we have an advantage of being from Canada and understanding how hard it is and having such a small market in a massive area, right? So now being able to go and set up in Florida and have a lot of people around us so close, right? They say often location, location, location. It really doesn't matter for us because we're not an ice cream shop, but we're online. We can do anything. But realistically, it does matter because you go to the store and you talk to somebody. Oh, I own a plumbing business. Yeah. Well, okay, well, you want shirts? Amazing. Yeah. You just get more opportunities. So I think that's going to be great. And then also being able to not go and live in the cold for 6 months. That's also great. Being able to be in Florida year round is going to be awesome.
All right, Sean. So this is amazing stuff. Thank you so much for all of this wonderful information. We're learning so much here. I want you to put on your fortune teller hat or shine the crystal ball here a little bit as you're seeing it, right? Come here. We're talking to all these great people. There's so much innovation going on. What are you guys as a company really looking at as future focus? I know moving here and that kind of stuff is probably a big part of your focus, but what do you see from the customer perspective of what's changing as we move forward over the next few years?
Yeah, 100%. I think the market itself is changing. Just the way e-commerce is made. You heard them yesterday talking about live shopping, right? So it's very different, and where the market is going is completely different than what it was because of AI, because of the trust factor of the customers. You see cost of acquisition of ads going higher and higher and higher, and the reason why is just because, one, they're putting the prices to be higher, Facebook, Google, and everything, but also the end user is used to it, so he's not clicking on them as much, right? So you have to be really creative in the way you're doing it, but also the market is shifting to where now you're going and you're looking at your influencers, or even if it's not an influencer, you're just going on YouTube and looking at a video of a product to make sure, hey, is this the right one for me? Should I go and buy something else? So I feel like for us, the future of the next 2 to 5 years, it's really tapping into that. Being able to empower the creators, or empower the people that are online making those videos, empower them with a solution to be able to sell online directly. So partnering up with companies like YouTube to be able to have sales channel connected and go through our app, enabling our partners to go and have access to that so they can sell more, being able to reach out to influencers to scale their brands. So that's really, I think, what we're doubling down on. But we need to have the infrastructure to do that. So that right now we're building the foundation. And I always say, like, if you want to build a 10-story building versus a 100-story building, you're not going to have the same foundation. So right now we're building that foundation to build a 100-story building, which is be able to accept all those sales channels, being able to decorate all those products that they want to offer and in different various ways, and be able to generate the affiliate links so that they can get paid out, right? So it's really about building the foundation so that next year we can really dive in and go after that market, because right now it's really in the infancy of what it is. The big brands are using it, but everything is pre-printed, and then they're trying to sell whatever they've got. So the next phase is really building the infrastructure, the technology, to be able to connect and allow that on demand, because the printing machines are there, right? So it's now us as companies to develop that technology to allow it.
Sean, we could talk all day. This is amazing stuff, and I love where we're heading. So I want to wrap up with this. We're here at Kornit Konnections. This is my first time here. I'm super excited to be here. Again, the conversations that people have been having and the things we've been learning here. So talk to us about that. Like, what do you think so far has been your biggest takeaway? What are you taking back from this and your experience here at Konnections in 2026?
I mean, it's my second year here, and every time it gets bigger and better, right? So being able to come here and share whatever you have about business knowledge that you have with other peers of the industry is great. And I feel like it's not competition, it's cooperation. So like everybody here is here to help each other out, and we can all learn something from each other, even though my market might be a lot smaller than somebody else's, or vice versa. We can learn from each other, and there's really no kept secret. Everybody's here to help each other out and grow together, because you don't know down the line, you might be able to take a customer that is not really geared towards your services, but you can send him away to one of your friends now because you have his phone number and you're connected, and you see him once a year. Maybe you call him once every 3 months because you have questions, things like that. And it really helps everybody out. It helps your customer because now you have a better solution for them. And at the end of the day, I think when you build those relationships, we're not there to steal each other's customers. We're there to give better customer service to our customers and help them really have the solution that they need. So it's really putting more tools in your toolbox to be able to serve your customers better and just build relationships. Like, so I've built great friends here, and I'm excited to see them every time we come and visit new shops. They come to our shops. So I think it's the most exciting event that I go to every year.
Got Dinesh from the Shirt Hub here with us at Konnections, Kornit Konnections 2026, and getting towards the end of the program here. So it's been an amazing time already here. But let's start here. I would love to learn a little bit more about your company, what you guys do. You know, give us the 101 from where you started to where you are now as well.
So we're a printer. We're mostly, on a contract side. So we do contract decoration and print on demand. So we've been in print on demand for like over 10 years. So back when no software off the shelf, you just have to figure it out. So we use a lot of DTG, DTF, screen print, dye sub, a little bit of pad print and heat transfer, embroidery, so different ways that you can, decorate a garment. And we play mostly in the, supporting e-commerce brands, and then also the ASI, PPI, promotional products markets. That's where we play. And I think more and more, I feel like I really love like the decoration side. So my family, we were in retail for a number of years and had all kind of different things. I mean, like my dad was kind of like a serial entrepreneur, so liquor store, gas stations, convenience store. So I grew up in that kind of entrepreneurial space. And over 25 years ago, I guess we had our first like apparel store where we started doing custom shirts. First, it was stalls, applying individual cut letters, letter by letter. I think we charged like 50 cents a letter. Back in the day, this was before ink, the light and dark transfer paper. Then that came in, then that was something huge, So we kind of kept on upgrading the equipment. In 2005, there was the first DTG printer. So I think we got like the GT 541. You could only do light. So we just kept at it. I went into finance, after college, and then I thought, okay, let's work for some years, and then maybe I'll start a business. But you start liking it, and they start doing well, and sort of like almost 9-10 years passed, and I was like, holy shit, what am I doing? Like I had a desire to go into business. So my folks were saying, hey, if you want to take this thing and do something with it, this is the time. So at that time we were like really heavy into retail. We were printing a little bit for ourselves, and I thought that we were like pretty good at printing and like kind of not that great at retail. So we kind of doubled down on the printing aspect, got really out of all the retail, and started getting into our first Kornits, which really was a game changer as far as quality. And like we would be done printing at like noon. We'd be like, all right, well that's good. We let's do something with this machine. So then we started going to DAX shows and like asking printers around town, we're in Minnesota, saying, hey, like we have this amazing equipment. Can we do work for you? So, till today, a lot of those customers are still with us that, screen print, embroidery shops in town that use us. So yeah, that's a little kind of background on us.
So I want to stay there for 1 second because I love the origin story, right? Like you saw what maybe wasn't working, but you saw what was, and then you leaned into that, right? Like I think sometimes people say, oh, well, we're not good at retail. I'm going to work really hard to try to be good at retail. Right. Instead of you said, hey, we're maybe not as good at retail as we thought, but we're really good at this. Let's lean into that. Like, so as you started building the contract part of the business, what became important to you guys as a company there as a contract printer compared to a retailer that was putting product out into the world?
So I think what I liked better about the contract space, I kind of felt like, again, we weren't necessarily the best on that like front end, but like we were good relationship people, and we were good like, what we say we're gonna do, like do that. And what I started realizing is as I worked with more and more promotional products folks, is like there's a lot in every town. There's a lot of people that can put ink on shirts, consistently, like screen print, embroidery. But they're not really using us for that. Like they're using us for peace of mind. So like, yes, we do decoration services, but I honestly feel like my business is more like peace of mind. Like that's what these guys want, is like, I'm going to give this to, Shirt Hub or Dinesh, and somehow, some way, the goods are going to be there like when they need them to be there, and the quality is going to be what we expect. And if something goes wrong, like they will bend back, and we have their back. It doesn't matter what it is, make it simple. Part of those lessons I think I learned just from like kind of like how our family makeup was about like, my folks were always big on like, keep to your word, be honest, and hard work. Like there's no substance. My dad would like grill that to us, like, guys, honesty, hard work, 2 things, not negotiable, So part of it also was like I worked for a company, Ecolab. That's like who I worked with. And that I feel like Ecolab was big on service in terms of like if your dish machine went down in like a blizzard and -30, like our guys would get out there and like we would have that kitchen up, you know, whatever it would be. And I just saw how when you focused on the service, you didn't necessarily have to like be the lowest cost guy, or you didn't have to have like the most. It's like they were using you because like that peace of mind. So I feel like we kind of brought some of that DNA into our business too, of like just do simple shit, like just what you say you're gonna do, deliver that. And if something goes wrong, fix it.
I get to work with a bunch of small business owners, and it's so funny what people think is good customer service, right? Like you said, you'll bend over backwards if something goes wrong, but that's, you set the expectations and deliver on those, as opposed to, you know, whatever they want. You got to set those expectations. But I also like what you said about the fact that you guys have non-negotiables in your business, right? That just come from your core values that you were brought up with. Talk about how you guys, like when you're getting a new customer, for example, like how do you explain that to them? How does that kind of conversation go down where you're talking about what the expectations are and why it's important to them?
Right. So I think one thing that helps is a lot of our business comes from referrals. So I would say, again, like we don't do any front end really. Mm-hmm. It's all the back end. So we're fulfilling people's, like, you know, it could be Shopify stores or, you know, and so usually I feel like when a customer is coming to us, one of my existing customers has kind of said, hey, you know, these guys will take care of you. Like they're like, don't worry about it. So that helps. I think I tell them up front, I'm like, you know, earlier when I started, I would like say yes a lot. Yeah. And like now I find like if it's out of my wheelhouse, I'm like, dude, no, this shit, like, can you do umbrellas? Well, yeah. But like, am I an umbrella guy? Yeah. Probably not. And like, there should be a different supplier that you should use. So part of it is also setting the expectation that like, don't feel bad. Like I love you and like I want to keep as much of your business as I can. But dude, if there's somebody better than me at delivering a complex puff print with foil, I mean, dude, like I'll do my best to find you that person. And so it's saying no a lot. Like just that's out of my wheelhouse, you know? So.
Yeah. And I think that can be a scary thing for people to do, but you know, I think that's probably the best thing. Because you also mentioned, you know, the relationships was such an important piece of what your business has been built on. So to that point, right, where you're like, okay, it's not my wheelhouse, but I value this relationship. Let me still find a solution, even if it's not necessarily going to bring me income right now, because it probably happens down the road. So is that kind of the partnership idea that you guys have?
I do think like, because I work with a lot of like screen print embroidery shops, and so I do see like there's that fear factor, and I get it. Like when you're starting new, you know, it's like you got to pay the bills. It's like you don't want to take a risk that like this customer, you know, that I send them over to the big print shop or something, and like all of a sudden they like it better. I found like just be fearless in that if you truly are going out of your way to like deliver for that customer, there's like an innate goodness in people that they're like, hey, I'm gonna reward that guy. And so like it just kind of plays out. And I feel like it's true because like we're, you know, our marketing is zero. Like we hit our customers even with like marketing emails, like maybe once a year to be like, hey, here's our new price list, you know? But like customers have stayed with us and like we've grown because and not to say that like we probably should upgrade our marketing game a little bit, but I do feel like people reward honesty, helping them out, and then so that's at least worked for us, I feel like.
All right. Well, we could sit and talk business for hours. I can tell already that we would have a great time with that, but we're here to a technology event for sure. So I want to make sure we hit on that stuff here. You mentioned before we got started, right, that our business, we, you know, look at it like, hey, we're printing T-shirts, but the reality is we're probably focused on a lot different things. I haven't had a whole lot of conversations about t-shirts here at this event, right? Even though we're at a t-shirt event. So talk to us a little bit about that, right? You talked about how you help fulfill and all that stuff. You mentioned Shopify. Technology wise, what's important for you guys and for your customers, as part of the service that you guys provide?
Right. So I think we talked a little bit about is like, I do feel like in our industry in the past, you go to Long Beach and there was a lot of focus on, man, what is the newest, soft hand, are we using water base? Are we like unique different ways to like embellish garments, right? But at least from when we started doing fulfillment heavily, like in 2012, when I felt like, I searched and there was minimal ability to like, off the shelf, here's barcoding and here's, so we kind of had to reach out to developers at that point, start working with them, make our own system. And then every peak season, we would like, sometimes you fail. Like you build a process that works great at like, 1,000 pieces a day. Then you get 4,000 pieces and you're like, holy shit, like this thing, so we kind of struggled through that. And now, we have a pretty good system that does, it's very customized what we want to do. But I feel like new screen printers, embroidery shops, or even existing ones are facing that technology gap a lot, where it's like my customers asking us for an on-demand store. So they're having to, naturally, they're like more on the machine side of like, how do I decorate? But they're having to wear that IT hat. And so it's cool to see now like Fulfill Engine, OMG, back in the day there was always like Deco Network and Inksoft and those guys getting to help the community to like make it easier and not as scary for them to like take and make one-off orders profitable. We've kind of lived that world for like a long time. And so we fulfill, during our peak seasons, it can be upwards of like 10,000 one-off pieces a day, where it's just like you're getting pounded and like, you're going. But it's like very doable now and profitable. And so I hope it's an area that like shops really start to embrace. And it can be a little scary, I feel like, because I've had those conversations, but we do need to like really be more of like tech focused. And now with AI stuff, I'm just like, kind of curious always. So like I've started using Cloud AI just to like build, artwork. Like we do a lot of DTF. We do DTF where we just sell the rolls also to other shops and stuff. And so plug for DTFX for a second. No, I'm just kidding. So we needed a way to like do some pipeline stuff with our art where we treat it differently for some customers. And normally I would like go to our developers, now it's this whole IT project, we're spending, thousands of dollars to try to do this. I was like, screw it, let's just try to like put it into ChatGPT. I got the $20 like a month one or whatever. Exactly. Within 2 hours, I shit you not, the tool was built. Like it said, I'm not a programmer. It was like, download Python. Okay. Now do this. Now do that. And it took maybe 4 or 5 iterations over a couple hours. But dude, it did it. Like it was breaking out, resizing artwork, making it 300 DPI, putting personalized names like onto the thing, using it. So if people are not playing with this stuff, like, dude, it's coming. You might not like it, or you might but play with it. So
cool. That's perfect segue too, because I want to also now, okay, you're talking about what's coming, you got to play with it, let's get used to it. But for your guys, for your company, like, what are you guys looking at here as you kind of say, okay, 2 years down the road, 3 years down the road, what's important for you guys to navigate, and what are you thinking about from that future perspective?
So so I think, like we talked a little bit about, I am trying to learn AI more. Okay. I would say like I'm still at the early stages. So like we're a little bit like old school, where, for example, we're still having fun at like when I get a PO as a PDF, like we have a person, and we have a couple people that like enter the PO, review it, send questions back. Hey, you forgot the art, or like then we do manually, like create a mock-up for the customer virtual, send it back. So I feel like based on the tools that are out there, a lot of that can be automated. But like I don't understand yet how, like I still feel like we need our people to like look at it, because every job, like when you're a person looking at it, you'd be like, oh, this job has extra small in it. They're trying to go over the back where the printing goes across the sleeves and everything. And it's like, how are we going to do that? And I don't know whether AI yet is going to be smart enough. It will, but like we need to actually create the stuff. So like I don't want to find out down the line. It's like, oh, by the way, this problem existed. But I think learning AI is going to be, and implementing more in our business is going to be important. I think we've pretty much fully embraced all the different decoration techniques, but trying to figure out, I always like to see, like, is there new decoration techniques that could give you a little bit of a moat where not that many, like for example, deboss, emboss. For whatever reason, not a lot of people doing it in the US. So kind of looking at that, looking at different things that we could add, or lasering. A lot of people were doing company stores. So they want us to be kind of like a one-stop shop, and figuring out, could we partner with other shops, or like how do we actually achieve it? Do we really need to become experts at all of those things? And is that smart for us or not smart for us?
That's awesome. This is just gives us tons to think about too, right? And I think people can see this in their own business, right? Because you're working with those people that are in that same space, so you guys are thinking about the same things. So we're here at Kornit Konnections, and the conversations have been incredible. And I love that you're talking about how do we keep the people inside of AI too, though. So I'm glad that somebody's actually saying that. Like, I think too often we go, oh yeah, how do we automate all of this? And do you get too far away from that and lose that human connection that your business is built on, right? So, but sorry, I got off track there. Back to Kornit Konnections here. What's been a big takeaway for you so far? What have you learned, seen? What are you excited about coming out of our time here in Hollywood, Florida?
I think like what I get the most, especially too, out of Konnections, is really the networking aspect of meeting people who have already been through the challenges. Some of them are further along on the path and can kind of be a resource for you. I've always found in our industry, screen print, embroidery guys, decoration guys, like we're very giving with our, like, yeah, I'll tell you, like this is what I use. I use, in helping, that's just like in the nature. But there's not enough places where you like get a chance to like build those relationships. So the reason I was so excited about like trying to help build this community is because I feel like we focus heavily on that. I think the content has been great. Like whether you're interested in like getting into licensing, there's info on that. We just had a great session talking about how AI is changing the search. The whole like small brands are going to be able to like go on ChatGPT and like kind of play that system where like you're not paying for that today. If you wanted to be traditionally like a big brand with a lot of money, it was hard to get space there. Mm-hmm. So smart small brands now can kind of compete. So it's so disruptive. Like the whole AI stuff in every single industry is so disruptive that I think the message for me was we're starting to already kind of get into it, and I got to like really double down. But like you mentioned, still keep the person focused, because like I feel like that's part of our special sauce is like when a customer comes up to me and said, hey, you remember that order? Yeah. Like I want to be still able to remember that order and like, hey, we used liquid gold on that, but I'm trying to think of a foil. I do feel like, yes, you can use it as a tool, but especially in our industry, it's like it's so relationship based with your customers. I mean, when they talk about that job, like you should know. Yeah. And if you're too reliant on the systems where it just goes, you might lose some of that. So,
Well, this has been awesome. Like I said, we could talk all day, but any kind of closing thoughts for our listeners here? I know you're part of you're helping build this program. So people thinking about Kornit Konnections in 2027. And any future thoughts there, or just kind of in general for our listeners?
Right. So I think the only, if it's a piece of advice, I would say definitely it can be super hard to like get out of your shop sometimes. But I really think in my business, every time I was able to get out to Long Beach or the Impressions show, and these type of events and meet people, it like energized my business, because you go back with like so much fuel. You're like, dude, I got to do this. So I would say that's one piece of advice, would be to like try to make time for these type of events, education, doing that kind of stuff. And then I think the other thing is to really think about how to, I would say, start with the end in mind. Too many times I feel like in our businesses, like we just are so stuck in it, like getting the order out, but we don't like give enough time to like plan that out of like, hey, what do I want out of this thing? Do I even want to be taking more orders? What do I want my life to look like? So we've started to kind of do that in our business. I feel like it's helped us kind of shape our day-to-day life better, and like what our goals are, like how big or how many orders do you really want to process, and who is the ideal customers, because sometimes you should be like firing some customers, because not because they're bad people, but because like they just don't fit your business.
So good. This has been awesome. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you being here, and looking forward to catching up again soon. All right. Well, I hope you had a lot of takeaways from those interviews there. I really appreciate the time that those folks gave me there at the event. And again, thanks to Kornit for bringing me out there. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts on what I shared at the beginning, and also your thoughts on those interviews. Again, great stuff there. So high five to those guys. All right. So are you guys ready for the secret sauce? All right, regulators. So do you ever feel like you're working hard every day, but somehow get further away from the life that you want when you started your business? Yep. I know that you're probably nodding your head right now, just like me here, right? Yep. I know it happens to more people than are willing to admit that. You probably started your shop, if you're a business owner, for freedom. Maybe you came to this for the creativity, the flexibility, maybe more income, maybe to build something meaningful. And then one day you looked up and realized you built yourself a full-time job with longer hours and more stress, right? Those are the people I get to work with at our success group each day, is they've gotten to that point where they realize that, and now they're looking for help finally, right? They're tired of banging their head against the wall. So if that is you, reach out. But hey there, regulators. Aaron Montgomery here. Today's secret sauce is all about this 15-minute future you check-in. Great tool, great way to really just reset. And it's simple, it's powerful, and honestly, it can be a little bit uncomfortable. So once a week, take just 15 minutes and ask yourself a question. Is what I'm doing right now in this moment where I'm feeling overwhelmed, stressed out, et cetera, is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to the life that I actually want? And that one question, if answered honestly, if being willing to go up against that uncomfortableness of the truth of that answer, will change a lot. Because a lot of times we're just running on autopilot. We're saying yes to every order. We keep the problem customers. We stay buried in tasks we should have delegated 2 years ago. We fill every hour being busy, but not every hour is building the future that we want. So let's do this check-in. Here's how. I love giving you just simple steps here, and these are very simple. Step 1, put it on a calendar, right? If it's not scheduled, it becomes a someday. And someday, right, your life in the someday is pretty crowded. And so I would say pick the same time each week. Friday afternoons, maybe Monday mornings work too. I personally like to have, I normally have a little bit of quiet time on a Sunday afternoon. And so I just put this in with my weekly planning, but I want to have 15 minutes, right? And so wherever that is for you, protect those 15 minutes like it's the most important customer your business will ever have, because it is the most important person. It's you. So that's step one. Step two, on top of the question that we asked earlier, I want you to add these other 3 questions to it. So that first question was, is what I'm doing right now getting me closer to the life I actually want? The next question is, what did I do this week that moved me forward? The second question is, what is draining my time or energy? And then the third question is, what should I stop, start, or improve next week? Okay? And just keep it really simple. You don't need a journal with leather covers or inspirational music playing in the background. Like just a sticky note will work just fine, but whatever's simple for you. But asking those 3 questions on top of the original question, if you're answering honestly, the third step is going to just show up for you. And that third step is make an adjustment. And one adjustment. This is really important. Don't try to change 27 things, not 10, not 3. Make one adjustment, right? And so it could be as simple as maybe you stop answering emails at 10 p.m., right? You've shut off your day, 6 o'clock, I'm done. I can get to it in the morning. Maybe you raise your prices on rush jobs, right? Maybe every single one of your customers is bringing you rush jobs and it's killing you, right? And it may be physically killing you, right? I almost killed myself by having hypertension, and I was too focused on things that, were rushes, right? It wasn't rush jobs in printing like you guys, but the fact of the matter is stress is the leading cause of most of the health challenges we have. And so maybe the adjustment is to train someone else to run the heat press. Find the neighbor kid, find somebody that can help you, find a mom that has a kid going to preschool and has a couple hours in the afternoon that the kiddos at the preschool and they want to make a little extra money, right? Like there are people out there if you're willing to look, so whatever that adjustment is, I just gave you a few examples, but each week you're going to have something that you can tweak slightly. And so those small weekly corrections keep you from having to have these giant life overhauls like I did, right? I went to the emergency room and I had to have a pretty giant life overhaul. And now that I'm just making small adjustments, right? I can feel it. I can sense it when I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit challenged, so to speak, right? So let me give you a real world example, and then just quick, and I just making this up. So this isn't somebody specific, but let's just say that there's a decorator that every Thursday gets destroyed by one customer who always has this, and we're going to use air quotes here, emergency order. And it's really caused by their poor planning. And so during this weekly check-in that they have maybe on Friday, they ask, is that emergency, is that challenging customer really helping me with the life and business that I want? And the honest answer is probably not even a little bit, right? Oh, well, they pay good. Do they? Do they pay that good? Is your life really worth that little, right? And so they have that opportunity to really get honest with themselves. And so the next week they create a rush fee policy and communicate deadlines very clearly, right? And so they go to this customer and say, hey, just so you know, we've had to make some adjustments. We've been getting busy and we want to make sure that we accommodate everybody. And so there is a rush fee policy. Now, if you give us the time that we need, no problem, right? So how can we help you plan ahead? Because I know we can do this, right? So there's that clear communication. And once they have that clear communication, either that customer goes away, right, which is fine, or they're making more money, they're protecting their schedule, and they're reducing their stress. So it's the exact same business, just better boundaries. And that's the power of that short pause, right? I think a lot of people really put this, I got to work harder. That's what's going to make me successful. But honestly, I found the more success for me has come from just stopping long enough to make sure that the hard work is aimed in the right direction. So here's the takeaway. If you do not check your direction, you may arrive somewhere you never wanted to go. So this week, schedule your 15-minute future you check-in, ask the questions, tell yourself the truth, and then make one slight adjustment, one slight move. Your future self is counting on you. So I would love to hear what changes you guys came up with from having this 15-minute pause every week. Share it with us and keep being awesome. Thank you, regulators. You guys rock. All right, you guys. Well, that is the end of our show today. I want to thank Terry and Eric especially for being our show producer, all the things he does to help us out. And then Terry, just love doing this with you, brother. Thank you so much for coming with me on this journey over the last 14 years. We got plenty more years to come here, at least 14 more, maybe, right? All right. So next week, we've got a show in the works for you, and I can't wait to bring that to you. So make sure that you tune in. We will be back live in studio next Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So tune in and check out what we've got for you here in the Two Regular Guys. So until then, for Eric Campbell, for Terry Combs, I'm Aaron Montgomery, and that was the Two Regular Guys.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Two Regular Guys. We're here because of listeners like you, and we're so grateful to have you on this journey with us. For more valuable insight, be sure to visit our website, 2regularguys.com, and join the conversation on our Facebook page. And hey, if you or someone you know has expertise, a unique perspective, or a story worth sharing, we'd love to have them as a guest on the show. Just reach out. Remember, success in this industry isn't just about the equipment you own or the techniques you've mastered. It's about the mindset you bring and the connections you build. Keep learning, stay curious, and don't be afraid to think differently. Keep pressing on, and we'll catch you on the next episode of the Two Regular Guys.